Hey Aries, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020. Yeah, we're glad to see the back of 2019. So what does this mean? We've a new year, a new decade. Surely that means that things are going to be a whole lot easier now. Yeah? Yeah? Well, maybe, but we still have a few challenges now. We knew this was going to happen last month, Aries. We spoke about it, but we're kicking into 2020 feeling like we're more prepared. We're better able to cope with whatever challenges come this month and for the whole of 2020. And to be quite honest with you, Aries, many of the challenges that are going to be starting now and going through 2020 are challenges that you're going to be able to conquer. Challenges that at some point, maybe after all the dust is settled, you'll be glad that you were faced with. So let's start off this year with a big new plan. And that plan is to get super, super determined, to get super, super organized, and to really nail it down, the things that we want to make happen in our lives now and for the rest of this year, Aries. So let's get to it. There is a lot going on. Of course there is. It's a new year, new fresh energy. So let's get to the cards, Aries, and do what we always do. As a bunch of cards came out there, we're going to wait on the right cards to come out, and we'll talk about the energies that will be happening for you this month. Yeah, a lot going on. So cards are leaping and jumping already. Yeah, good few of them. Tower. Now that probably mid-month has something to do with the big lunar eclipse that's happening. It's an eclipse in Cancer in your 4th house that's happening around January 10th. And you're going to feel it, Aries, but we'll get to it. I don't want to get there just right yet. We have to get a few cards and talk about some of the things that might be happening now. When it comes to money, let's focus on that first, because we'll get some of these details on the way. For many of you, money could be coming this month because you are working with a team of people. So if you're in a workspace or a work environment where you're working on a group project, you're working with a team in work, maybe designing something, using social media to promote either yourself or to promote this work project that you've got going on, you might see that the idea itself proves very popular, and you might see a few coin coming back with that. So there is a level of popularity and enjoying the popularity, and as I said, the few coin that comes with that. And if you, now it can mean anything, but if you do make coin by having to be popular, by having to communicate, like say you work in a market or something like that, or you work in very forward-thinking, futuristic kind of work, then again, the money could be coming in here. So it's good. Connections, getting in with new networks of people, getting in with the right crowd, promotion, advertising, all that. That's where you're at. That is where you're at, and that is where the money's at this month, particularly for your career, because this month we know there's still a huge level of focus on your career. But before we get to that, say around the second half of the month, again, keeping in the theme of money, on January 13th, Venus, the goddess of love and money. I've often wondered about that connection, love and money ruled by the same goddess, okay. But she moves into Pisces, into your 12th house, and there might be some big change about money, how it's spent and how it's earned. Maybe some of you becoming more conscious about the type of work you're doing. You know, is it just enough to get the coin, or should I be more conscious of where I'm getting that coin from? You know, so that might be happening around the second half of the month. Also be careful, say the second half of the month, with your money, because when Venus goes into the 12th house, very often two things can happen. First, she loses money. So keep your eye on your wallet, your purse, everything like that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's just a moment in the second half of the month for you to be more conscious of where you keep your money and how you spend your money. It might be very tempting to go on Amazon and say, I'll buy everything here and have you any more of it. But it's not a great time, because that's just money that will disappear. Be cautious also of taking any real risky adventures in the second half of the month with money, because again, that could be money that just seems to fall into a kind of where the hell did that go kind of abyss, So just hold on to your coins in the second half of the month. You'll do better if you do. For those of you who are very interested in generating some sort of passive income, that could be very strongly on your mind in the second half of the month, Aries. So they're the kind of vibes. And charity, giving money to charity is also likely in the second half. Now, I want to warn you of something here too, Aries. In the second half, again, it's in the second half of the month, but in the second half of the month, people might come to you maybe with a hard luck story. They might have lost money. They might have a real need for money. Now, you weigh that up yourself, Aries. I can't tell you yes or no to give somebody money. All I'm asking you to do before you hand out a bunch of coin to somebody who has given you this big hard luck story, do a little bit of investigative work there. Because what you don't want to see is, you give the money because they needed it for some emergency thing, and you're scrolling through Facebook or whatever, and next thing you see them sipping pina coladas somewhere on a nice yacht somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, and you might get a bit angry because you're saying, that's not what I gave that money for, So again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't help somebody out. It just means that you should know who you're helping out, So that's kind of strong there with money. So we're getting that all out of the way, because there are bigger things at work here, Aries, much bigger things. Big thing is, where do I begin? So Mars, your ruler, moves into Sagittarius, a fellow fire sign, into the 9th house. There's already a big open fire. Sagittarius has everything laid out in abundance, of course. And Sagittarius says, come Aries, come sit by me. I want to show you something. I want to explain something to you. And I want you to see the bigger picture of something very, very important. So you're sitting in this 9th house, enjoying the fires and abundance of the Sagittarian energy. And you're looking next door to the 10th house, where we have the usual suspects, Saturn, Pluto conjunction this month. We have the Sun in there, we've Jupiter in there, and for a moment we've Mercury in there. So there's a huge amount of energy going on in this 10th house, Aries, where it's all about your public reputation, how people recognize you, how they see you, how you work in your career, all the usual drill, the stuff we always talk about, how you, when you put your face out there, how you give off a good, solid impression to people, how you don't ever look shoddy, how people are impressed by the home that you're making, the relationship that you're in, the way you're raising your children, the way you're handling your life, your money, everything, and particularly your career. So you're getting a huge amount of energy going in there. That's going to be quite shocking, I have to say, Aries, because on the other side of this 10th house, we have the lunar eclipse in the 4th house. So that means something is going to be eclipsed out of your life forever. Okay, in the 4th house, a lot to do at home, a lot to do with family, but mostly to do with a sense of inner structure, inner stability. So we've got the 10th house, which is about outer structures, how you look to the outside world, the solid things you've got in your life, that it's open and visible for everybody to see. And you've got in opposition there the 4th house, which is what's strong and structured inside of you. And sitting there in the 9th house, you're able to grab the bigger picture. And what you're being shown, Aries, is how you have to start asking some big questions here. And that is, what is driving you to succeed? What has been driving you to get your career together? What has been driving you to be that public face, to push ahead with something you're really driving, your objectives, your ambitions, to become a solid, determined, consistent person. What has been driving that? And what you might discover is that beneath it, the foundations of a lot of that was based on the ghosts of the past. Yeah, I know that sounds weird. But what could have been motivating you over the last 2.5 years was not coming from in here. It was coming from out there. I'm going to show those bitches that I can have a steady relationship. I'm going to show those people that I can make a solid life for myself. I'm going to show that ex that I can commit to somebody and be a good parent. I'm going to show that mother, that father, that brother, that sister, that family unit. Even though they told me I wouldn't amount to anything, I'm going to show them. And the list goes on and on. The schoolyard bullies, the hometown critics, all those ghosts from the past lit the original fire to motivate you to do what you're doing now. But they are ghosts. And what do we know about ghosts? Ghosts are made of nothing. You can't touch them. They're not solid. And they disappear very, very quickly. So if you're building something strong, steady in your life, your career, your family, everything you're committing to, if that's based on a foundation of a ghost, of pleasing the ghosts of the past and proving to them, look what I can do, then that's not a very steady foundation. And that is not the reason now why you are going ahead into 2020 to make more of yourself, get more success in your life, fulfill your ambitions, get your objectives together. You're doing it now, not to prove it to them, but to have a sense of your own inner stability and say, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing it for me. So between January and just before your birthday, Aries, if you can commit to just one solid thing, just one solid thing, that is to recognize how the ghosts of the past have laid the foundation for what you've done, but it's not a solid foundation. And between now and your birthday, build that solid foundation based on what you want. 9th house, Mars in the 9th house, developing a new understanding, but also a new inner narrative. It is now my belief that I'm doing things in my life because I want to do them. It is now my belief that I'm getting my career together, not because my family expected of me. It is my belief that I am building a strong family and raising good children, not because people told me I couldn't do it, but because I'm enjoying doing it. It's just more and more questions this month about what kick-started this whole process of working towards a goal of, and now recognizing that even though it ignited it, it is not the basis of a good solid foundation. So there will be a lot of emotions, tears, and a real lot of raking up the old coals of the past, Aries, digging up the old narratives of what you were expected to do. When you grow up, you should be this. When you grow up, you're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. Or you will never be that. You will never be that. And then you reacting because of that. Now you have to go through those hot coals of the past, walk through them as you can, Aries, it's no problem to you, and just say, I face those fears. I face the fears of dealing with the past script, with the past narrative, with the past bullshit, and not having to walk on those hot coals anymore. And certainly not using them anymore as a foundation for my current and future success. Because, as we say, a foundation built on the ghosts of the past will disappear like that. You're looking for something more solid. And that is what January, between January and your birthday, is all about. So it's a short-term objective, Aries. And get practical with it. Use your mind. Really focus on this. Write it down. Say, this is my new commitment between now and my birthday. That I am leaving behind the old childhood programming, the old narrative, the old script, the old expectations of what my family, hometown teachers, guides, tutors, what all those bitches maybe from my schoolyard kind of said. I'm leaving all that behind. I'm not doing it for the ghosts. Doing it for me and for my partner, my future partner, my family, my children, my friends, my sense of wanting to do something more important in my own life. It's take the needle off the record. Because, Aries, you're not a dog answering to the whistle of the past. You're beyond that now. And the last 2 years have proven you're beyond that now. So now, become that now. And you won't get it right all the time. You'll fumble, particularly this month, you'll fumble through this, through the emotions that are going to be brought up with the lunar eclipse. Why did they treat me like that? Why did they expect this from me? Why didn't they give me a solid foundation? Why did they abandon me? Why did they hurt me? It'll all come up. But what do we know about stuff that comes up, Aries? We know that it has to come up and it has to be faced. And if you face it and you look at it, all this shit from the past, the old narrative, and it makes you angry, and it makes you rage, and it makes you bitter, and it makes you resentful, and it makes you frustrated at, why did I waste my time listening to that? Why? Take that anger, resentment, maybe bitterness, and see it like wild energy, like a bronco, and put a saddle on it, Aries, and use that raw energy to move forward into 2020. If the energy is going to be there, if it's a lot of strong, powerful emotion, then see it as an ally. As I said, put a harness on it and use it. Use it. And say, you know, I had no choice, maybe back then, but to listen to the people of my past. I had no choice. But now I've a choice in how I react to the energies that were trapped in me and that are now coming up in me. My reaction, as always, being ruled by Mars, is to say, another weapon, thank you very much. Another ally, thank you very much. Another source of raw power and energy, thank you very much. And use it and push forward into 2020. As I said, Aries, it's powerful. And it's going to be a challenge, a strong emotional challenge. Do you think you can do it? Do you think? I know you can do it, Aries. I know you can do it. And I know that once you face this challenge and understand how to handle it from now on, then you start really moving with a greater sense of power. Not a greater sense of force, because this is a month also where you'll understand the difference between true power and force. Where you were forced to do things in your past. There was no power in that. There's no power anywhere that you have to force something. A career, forcing a relationship, forcing something to happen in your life, There's no power. Real power is when you know how to harness power and just say, and on I go with my wild bronco saddled and riding into 2020 sunset. Here I go, and that is my power. I don't have to force anything anymore because I've nobody to prove anything to anymore. Just have to keep getting stronger in my own power. And if I have to prove anything to anybody, it's me proving to myself that I can overcome every challenge from my past and every challenge that comes my way in the future. So do you see why this is a big month and a big year, Aries? So, excuse me, I'm waiting on 3 last cards. So use the energy between now and your birthday to really harness that. Harness everything that happens this month and get out of this feeling of being trapped, mentally trapped, emotionally trapped. Because, like I said, you're not dancing to their tune anymore. And you are not a dog that answers to somebody's whistle, no matter how far away in the past it is. Okay, one last card, Aries. Let's get this going. And the last card is the Sun. The healing that comes with that. Strong, 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 Aries, but the energy might be strong, but you're stronger than it, you know? And when you see the energies as your ally, then you're stronger together. Okay, so Aries, let's go over to your big grand, ta-da, your overview. So, we open the month with things from the past being brought up in order for you to transform them, purge them, heal them. Yeah, some stuff that really hurt you. Some communications between you and somebody from the past that really, in some cases, almost broke you. And it could be a while ago, Aries. It could be an ex that you never got them out of your head. You never got the words that they said out of you. It always stuck there. Certain family members, maybe even parents with all their good intentions, perhaps. Something stuck there. The words that got stuck and trapped with a great sense of imbalance. They're being dug up now again for you to deal with, for you to have a real conversation with yourself, maybe even, about this. I'm having a serious conversation about balancing something and making something clearer in my mind from the past. So, can we get rid of the ghosts of our past? Not really, Aries. It's like that thing of, if I said to you, don't think of a purple elephant. Whatever you do, don't think of a purple elephant. What are you going to do? You're going to think of a bloody purple elephant, right? And it's the same thing. The more you try not to think of what happened in the past, more than likely, the more you're going to think about it. So the idea isn't to try to stick a knife in it and say, be gone, be gone, be gone. I'm sticking knives there to be gone. That's not how it is. Look at it. Get clear about it. See it. Mars in the 9th house, understand it from a higher perspective. And then say, right, so that has been part of my life. That has been part of my narrative. That has been part of my script. It is now part of me. What I do now is I make it clear to myself how this is no longer going to hurt me. I'm going to use the energy, the raw energy, like the wild bronco, put a saddle on it and use it to my advantage. If the energy is going to be there, then at least let it be a source of energy that I can make progress with, that I can use to my advantage, rather than for it to sit deep inside me like a pain, like a hurt, like a disappointment, like a brokenness. Use it. Use it, Aries. Use it. It may never go away, but isn't it better to use it than just let it sit inside you and hurt you? So again, this is coming out right from the start of the month. The strong, strong, strong emotions, very strong emotions, in order to transform you. This is what's coming up from the past. Because beside that, we have the hermit, the one who needs a bit of time out, a bit of time away to analyze everything that we've just said. Last month we had the full moon in Gemini. This is a moon in Gemini card. And saying something needs to absolutely come to an end now. But I'm recognizing that not all things can come to an end. What do? We handle it better. But we have to analyze it. So say, for example, with the full moon in the 4th house, it could be stuff coming up from your family. And you might say, well, I can't just cut out my family. I can't never speak to my mother again. I can't never speak to my father again, my brothers, my sisters. I can't just chop out family. So what do? I analyze it and I examine it. How do I feel about it? How can I relate better to it so that there's no more power in it to hurt me? If it can't be let go of, then how can I manage it better so that I let go of the negative aspects of it, the hurt, the pain, the disappointment, the feeling like it's one thing after another that brought me down, blocked me, stopped me, didn't give me a solid foundation to work from, maybe. So the top 4 cards there, Aries, are really speaking of the energy this month. Now, excuse me, you might say this is all very heavy. Now, it might be, Aries. I have to be honest with you. It might be very heavy. But it's a heavy situation that you face, you challenge in order to make it lighter. That's the whole purpose of all of this analysis, all of this wisdom coming in to help you heal it. A very 6th house style energy and a Virgo card. How do we heal this? How do we heal the things that we didn't want to face, the things that we tried to bury down, the things that we didn't want to confront, the things that we refused to analyze? How do we open all of that up now and accept that there's no clear ending maybe to some things? Sometimes things end messy. Sometimes things don't really ever end. But what all we can do, Aries, is manage it. Manage how we observe it. Mars in the 9th house. Manage how we understand it. Manage how we draw wisdom from it. Because in some cases, Aries, it was that very pain, that very hurt from a past situation that spurred you on and triggered you. You might have been made redundant from a job. It triggered you to get out there and become self-employed, perhaps, or follow a new career path. Your past, you might have failed at something, didn't get ahead, and your family might have been very kind of disappointed with you, but it spurred you and motivated you to do something else. It was the pain maybe of the past that actually drove you to do something more progressive in your life. So we can at least have some level of wisdom and understanding there and say, you started the fire, thank you for that. I don't have to stay in that though, you know? And mid-month Aries, we have a tower moment, And this is a wonderful thing, because beside it is the card of Mars in Scorpio, the inner resentment that wasn't allowed out to purge. I feel you like a fire-breathing dragon mid-month Aries. That emotion, the heat, the tension, the pressure, and having that real open up and just say, to hell with this, fire-breathing moment, to purge out that resentment and purify it with fire. You're a fire creature, Aries. Let it out. Let it out. But again, once the kind of disappointment and the sadness and the rage is out, what you'll find is that the energy is there to harness, like the Bronco I said, and to use. It's just get the surface stuff out, all the negatives out. So yeah, fire, an image just of that fire-breathing Aries dragon really spitting fire here. And the reason for that, of course, Aries, is to have that tower moment. Let something collapse. Now, did we not talk about this? This tower has fallen because it was built on ridiculously bad foundations. And every architect knows that a building must be built on the strongest of foundations for it to stay up. The foundations are possibly the most important part of any construction. And now you're saying, I get it, mid-month, I get it. I had built everything based on the foundations of the ghosts of the past who disappear, and then what's left? No inner stability in me. answering to their dog whistle all the time, not building it from here, but building it to please some other voice, some other narrative. So that's a tower that not only should come down, but I think it's you with the fire-breathing energy burning that shit down, saying that has to go now. It has to go. And again, Aries, this is a tough judgment to make, but the wisest judgment. This is Gabriel blowing the horn, saying, it's time, it's time. You know, he's got the bugle going, you know, he's saying it's time. This is it. This is where real judgment comes in, Aries, and real balance. And you need to be giving yourself time to go through this. You could watch this video. You could not watch this video maybe and go through the month. And when all of this stuff is happening, you could say, I'm just going to dive into my work. I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to pretend it's not going to happen. I'm just going to dive into something else, my relationship, my focus on 2020. I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to put my head in the sand and say, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. This is just the month for January. February will be better. Just wait. My birthday will be along soon anyway. Just let's ride this one out. No. No, Aries. Don't put your head in the sand about this. When you feel these strong emotions coming up and that strong sense of, I've got to build a more solid foundation going into 2020, better connections, a better understanding of why I do what I do in my life, then I'm free. Look at all this, the ghosts of the past being raised up, and it's like, bye, bye, bye. It's incredibly strong, Aries. The whole team really seems to be having that real divine moment. This is not an accident. This is not accidental energy. Mars in the 9th house, having a real big understanding. 9th house is a very spiritual house. The house of the gods, where we can look and see the work of God or the gods or spirit or cosmos or the ancestors, perhaps. Lunar eclipse in the 4th house, where we can see the handiwork and say, this is exactly what needs to happen now. This was divine intervention. This was a judgment call that was out of my hands somewhat. And I'm going to really allow this to happen, because I am eclipsing the past, eclipse in the 4th house. I'm eclipsing the hurt and the pain, the emotions. I'm eclipsing the narrative from the past. I'm eclipsing the attachments to the past that are negative. And I'm rewriting the script in the 9th house that it's all more positive emotionally. That my new temple, the inner temple, 4th house, is now a place that I worship, where I go to myself and ask, Aries, what would you do in this situation? Rather than saying, oh, what would they do? What would they do? What would they do? The new temple is, what would I do? I've been through enough. What have I learned? How do I get through this next obstacle? What am I feeling? So that's where the old is eclipsed and a new flame gets lit here, Aries. And it's, what would Aries do? What would I do? And that's, what would spirit do? What would my ancestors do? What would my most honest, truthful heart space do? And you might find that it's in direct contrast to maybe what some of the people in the past told you to do. Am I again telling you to reject everything that your family taught you? And it's not like that. You need to have a bit of wisdom here and judgment and discernment to know what's going on and what's the difference. And you can do it, Aries. I've no doubt about that. And we're coming towards the end of the month. It's huge, Aries. All the cards, everything are just being dominated by what's going on for you emotionally this month. You finally wake up. Finally wake up. But it's a painful waking up. Look, he has his head in his hands and he's saying, What? I've been asleep. I've been asleep. I didn't know that's how I operated in my life. I didn't know I was so trapped by the past. I didn't realize that I was making decisions in my life from old programming. I didn't realize I was getting into relationships as a kind of I'll show you to an ex. I didn't realize I was on a career path to please somebody else. I didn't realize that I was always like the dog answering to the whistle. Nobody makes a fool out of me. Nobody, I wouldn't allow it. And yet here I am waking up and realizing from this big picture here that I get this month that I have been allowing myself in some cases to be made a fool of. But that's okay. That's okay. You're only a fool if you stay doing foolish things when you know better. To not know something and then suddenly realize that there's no foolishness in that. But you are waking up and you refuse to be trapped anymore. And for me, this is a card of being too much listening to the crowd. Not coming away and saying, well, how can I be different to everybody else? How can I follow a different career path that's not all about pleasing family, friends, or other people or my boss? How can I create something in my life that's not something that maybe is in popular culture? How can I redesign my house that it's not just something I've seen in a magazine, but it's actually a home that is filled with my color, my design, my inspiration? How can I remove myself from the influence of other people and become unique? Have my unique voice? This is a Jupiterian card, the card of sacrificing in order to get something bigger. It's also the card, the lineage tree, where we must see how we've been attaching ourselves to maybe some negative programming from our past. And it's time to cut yourself down from that tree. Stop swinging from it and hurting yourself. It's time to be free, Aries. And for me, the freedom is that sense of individuality. We've a new moon in Aquarius this month on January 24th, all about being unique, shining, being an individual in the midst of a crowd, in the midst of what cultural norms are, in the midst of the fashions, in the midst of what everybody finds acceptable, pleasing. In the midst of that, where are you finding your unique voice? With Uranus going direct this month in the second house, where can you be almost a rebel, Aries, in your life by doing something that's not a reaction to what other people have expected from you and still expect from you? Could this be the moment, Aries, where you go through all of that emotional stuff in order to emerge as a bigger person, a brighter person, and certainly a healed person, and in some cases even a more successful person? Because one thing we know about the success in our life, it always comes from a place of authenticity. New moon in Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius, Sun moving into Aquarius on January 20th, Mercury in Aquarius January 16th. It's your sense of coming away from the crowd and finding your unique voice from your own inner foundations, your own spirit, that brings you all the success, that brings you all the healing, and that brings you all the intense happiness. So Aries, this was deep this month, and you're going to go through it. And you're going to come out of it the other side stronger. And you're going to even at points be glad that you dealt with this. Because for me, it's the sense of freedom, 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 freedom. I'm not following that script anymore. This is the very first time, maybe for some of you in your life, where you're beginning from 2020 onwards to operate as a person who is completely free. Free to just do your own thing and create your own life, and to bring meaning and deep purpose into your own future. Yeah, deep. I know, Aries. I'm going to leave it at that, my love. But you know, these are just the general energies of the month. They're very, very strong energies. But if you do want to know the details of other things, like your relationship, for the singles, what is going on in singles land there in Capricorn season, for your money, for your career in particular this month, big changes happening there, for what's going on with your home, family and friends, you know, Aries, to come to the VIMEO readings, the deep read. We'll go into every part of that in that reading. If you go into the description box down there below, you'll see a link. Click on it, come on over, and we'll get stuck into those energies. But this month, overshadowing the YouTube reading is definitely the strong, powerful, transformative energy. So, yeah, it's going to be a big one, Aries. It's going to be a big one. So, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to see you over at the VIMEO readings, okay? And if not, my love, work this month. Work it. Get everything from it. And enjoy it. And be free after it. And I'm going to leave you, Aries, as always, with all my love. And a great, great, great big kiss from me to you. Mwah. Until next month, my beautiful.